Did you think Nicole was mentally ill in May of 1994?
No, I'll use her words. She seemed to be lost.
Okay. But at no time did you attempt to get the children taken away from her,
No,
right?
she's a great mother at all times.
So you thought at all times that she was emotionally and mentally fit to care for the children, right?
Very much so.
Up to the last day of her life, right?
Yes.
It is true you were having a dispute with her about the IRS at this time, right?
No.
That's not true either?
No, I just wanted her to change addresses.
Have you ever seen this document before?
I believe I may have.
When?
When I was in jail.
And how did you first come across it?
I don't know. I think they just brought all kind of discovery in, and I don't recall specifically seeing this, but it doesn't seem unusual to me to see this at this point.
And when you, after you first saw it, did you talk to anybody other than lawyers about it?
You don't have to answer that.
Why not? I asked them other than lawyers.
Oh, I apologize.
We asked the tough questions when you talked to Mr. Leonard.
Yeah.
I know I didn't talk to anybody. If I talked to my lawyers about these things specifically, they'd have been the only people I talked about.
For example, Cora Fishman, have you ever spoken to her about why Nicole was writing stuff like this
No.
last month of her life?
No.
Or Christian?
No.
Are you curious to know?
Don't answer that.
On the weekend of May 28th, you can look at Mr. Baker's electronic calendar. Nicole writes in here that you said you couldn't take the kids that weekend, but they did spend the night Friday and Monday with you. Is that true?
No. Another inaccuracy in these letters. Another non-truth, I should say, in these letters.
Okay, it is not true that the kids spent the night Friday and then again Monday on Memorial Day?
That's correct.
And you were in Palm Springs?
That's correct.
Were the children with you?
No.
Not at all on that trip?
No.
On Saturday and Sunday, Nicole says that the children were with her. Was that true?
It says in the document, Exhibit 86.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Mr. Baker.
Okay.
Was that true?
You can't get your foundation from your own questions, Mr. Petrocelli.
Pardon me?
I can try.
I've been overruled. You can't.
Were the children with Nicole on Saturday and Sunday?
I was out of town. I have no idea where they were.
Do you know from when you saw them again if they saw the Flintstones and went to play miniature golf?
No.
Do you know whether you had the children the weekend before Memorial Day weekend?
Certainly for Sunday, I certainly had them. Certainly Sunday. I don't recall if certainly Sunday I know. I don't think I was in town Friday or Saturday.
Okay. Can you turn the page?
Which page?
I assume we're going to the...
Which page?
To June 4th?
Yes. Last page, Mr. Simpson,
Okay.
June 4th. This is Exhibit 86. Did the children get to your house around 1 p.m. on June 4?
Just,
What is that, Mr. Baker? Saturday?
it is.
Saturday.
They could have, yes.
Did they spend the evening with you on June 4?
They could have, I'm not sure.
Why are you not sure?
Because I'm not sure. I knew they were with me on Sunday the 5th. And some parts of me feel that Nicole brought them over Sunday the 5th. Matter of fact, I'm almost 100% sure she did, because Justin had dirtied up his clothes, and Paula took him to Rutnick's or someplace to get him new clothes to go to an affair with us.
When did you go to that affair?
That Sunday the 5th.
And that was the pediatric AIDS event?
Yes.
And then you and the kids and Cato and his daughter went out to dinner at Sizzler?
Yes. I
Was that
believe so.
Sunday evening?
Yes.
Okay, could you turn back now to 2 pages earlier? Do you see the entry where it says Friday, April 30? Mr. Baker, is that a April 30, 1994? Is that a Friday?
Saturday, according to this.
Do you know if you had the weekends for the? Do you know whether you picked up the kids for the weekend from school last weekend in April?
I don't think so. I think Nicole and I were, I think I'm April what? Show me, is this April?
Yeah, that's April of '94. The 30th is a Saturday, not a Friday.
She might be referring to '93 here.
That was very good.
What, 93?
Yeah. I'm trying to.
I don't know. 93, I don't know what I was doing in April of
Well,
93.
did you take the kids to Vegas on a trip in 1993?
Yes. Yes, but I think that wasn't April 30th.
But April 2.
Yes,
That was 1993, correct?
that was 1993.
Okay. And was Paul on that trip with you?
Paula met us there.
Okay. You went with the 2 kids and Paula met you there, right?
2 kids in Arnell, and Paula met us there.
Okay. Can you turn to page 1879, which is 2 pages before? Okay. In the first part of this document, there's an entry about you picked up the kids for Justin's first Wednesday visitation. Do you know what that refers to?
At the top of the thing?
Yeah.
I think once I got back, yes, I do know what that
What does it
refers
refer to?
I think once I got back from from New York that year,
What year?
this would have been 93.
Okay.
We made out an arrangement that every other weekend I would get the kids, and I had the option on Wednesdays to take them from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock or something like that.
And again, this is before you attempted your reconciliation, right?
Yes.
And it says below the first entry, he will take the kids Friday noon to P period S period. What does that mean? Do you know?
I'm sure it's Palm Springs.
And did you used to have Kathy Randa pick up the kids?
I think she may have once or twice.
Did that bother Nicole?
I don't know. She never said anything to me.
And AC, did he used to pick up the children too?
Not from school. Not normally from school.
From Nicole's house?
During this period of time, I was avoiding Nicole. I don't think so. I know he bought them to Palm Springs, as this said, for me, because I was already there. But other than that, I don't really recall AC not for me anyway, picking the kids up from school. I'm sure he did for her once or twice.
You recall canceling pickup of the children on March 10? Mentioned in the last entry.
I don't recall, but if I was out of town, I would have had to cancel, yes. This is March 10? What day?
1993.
Yeah, if I wasn't in town, I probably did.
Now, go back down to the bottom of the next page, 1880.
Yeah.
The entry at the end says, the rest of 1993 were spent either with me or as family weekends, hours, or days. OJ and I got back together starting April 12, 1993. Was that correct, that you got back together?
No, that's what she wanted. But as I told you, that's when she had a little problem that I wouldn't commit.
Did you go to Cabo in April?
We had got back from Cabo, and she assumed that got us back together, and I told her it didn't.
Okay. I got everything in here. You can look through it. Come back. Earlier today, I was asking you about the injuries that Nicole sustained and for which she received medical treatment. And you told me about Cowlings taking her to St. John's on April 1, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of any other instances when Nicole... January 1, excuse me, 1989. Do you know of any other instances when Nicole was treated for injuries?
Well, one other incident that, once again, I insisted she go in case there was an injury, but there wasn't, so there was nothing to treat.
Was that when she fell off a bicycle?
That's what she told me, yes.
Okay. And those are the only two times that you know when Nicole was treated for injuries?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether she ever suffered any injuries while she was pregnant?
No. I don't know of any injuries she ever suffered while she was pregnant.
Did you have an argument with her about her first pregnancy with Sydney as to whether or not she should have the baby?
No, I only got married to have kids.
And you had no such argument with respect to her second pregnancy with Justin?
None at all.
When she was pregnant with Sydney, was she supposed to have twins?
I think she told me that she lost one of that she could have had twins, but one of the sacs didn't go or something early on.
Early on in the pregnancy?
Yes.
To your knowledge, the fetus had not
Yeah,
grown
I think from the
term?
time she officially knew she was pregnant, that had already happened. From what she said.
What had already happened?
That it could have been, but one of them didn't hold or something.
What, was a second twin born stillborn? Do you know?
No, I'm saying even before she knew officially she was pregnant, whatever happened had happened.
Already?
Yeah.
So she only carried one fetus?
Yes. Yes.
Were you in a delivery room with her for Sydney
I believe so, yes.
and for Justin?
Yes.
Did you have an argument with Nicole about whether you should be in the delivery room for Justin?
Yes.
Relate that.
She said I made her too nervous when she was in the delivery room with Sydney, that I was too nervous or something, but I still did it. My first wife told me the same thing.
When she was
He didn't ask you what your first wife told you. Jeez.
when she
Why
was
here? Look at the color, though, Jay. It's because of you.
when she was pregnant with Sydney, did you tell her that you believed she had gained too much weight?
No.
And you never berated her physical appearance?
No.
Same with Justin?
Same, yes.
Have you ever heard that Nicole complained about you calling her fat during her pregnancies?
After all of this had happened, I heard it, yes.
And how'd you hear that?
I think I read it somewhere.
In her own handwriting?
No, it may have been in a magazine or a news, some of the coverage of the trial.
But it wasn't true, right?
That's correct.
Dan, I heard on the news that both of these guys are going to examine today, so you got to hurry up.
You did?
Yeah.
That's a bombshell.
That's a bombshell.
You have the best lines of these.
He saves them, but they're good. How many times did Nicole hit you in your relationship?
I'd be guessing.
He doesn't want you to guess,
No, so give me your best estimate.
if you have a best estimate.
5 or 6.
Was one of these the 89 incident?
Yes.
Okay. You've already talked about that. What were the other incidents?
I 2 or 3 of them were after 89. I believe I documented those. And I think at some point early in our relationship, when I say early, before we got married.
What do you mean you documented those?
I would call Kathy whenever something happened and tell her to write it down and put it in a file because that was recommended to me by some police officer.
Who was the police officer?
I don't recall, but it was somehow around the 89 thing.
Where are those documents?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen them?
I hadn't seen them since all this happened, but I'm pretty sure they were around in Discovery or something.
You saw them during the criminal trial?
I'm not 100% sure I did, but I'm pretty sure that they were found around that time.
You haven't seen them
Asked for
recently?
No.
And can you describe the incidents that you wrote down?
One time, she just started hitting and kicking me, and I went into Justin's room. Why, I don't recall what the conversation was at this time, but I know she did until she got tired because I just covered my groin and turned my back to her. And then another time she came in, I was just laying on the bed, and she took a stack of books and just slammed them down on me. And the other time may not have been physical. The other time may have been more verbal.
Where was the other time?
I don't know, but it should be written in that thing. I don't recall right now.
And why did she slam the books down on you?
It was, I don't recall what it was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it was.
Was she upset at you?
Yeah.
About what?
What's your,
That's what I'm saying,
that's
I'm
a
not
great
sure.
question. No, she always threw books at him.
I don't know, it's,
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me based on what I'm hearing.
I don't recall what it was about.
You have no recollection at all?
No,
Did it hurt?
not really.
You didn't call the police or anything, right?
No.
You made no report other than to Randa, right?
Yes, right.
Did you tell Nicole you were keeping track of this, by the way?
No,
Was that the year 1989?
I don't know. It may have been.
And what about the other incident where she hit you and kicked you?
What about it?
When did that occur?
After 89. After the New Year's Day 89 incident.
In the year 1989?
I don't know. I don't recall.
What was the cause of that problem?
I have no idea.
You just don't remember?
I just don't remember.
At the time, you remember having
Yeah,
an argument with her?
at the time I remember my purpose was to document it, and I did.
Well, I mean, she didn't just come up in clear blue and start hitting and kicking you, right? There was an argument you were having
we
that
said
escalated
something.
into...
She said something. I said something.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ted, you answer.
She said something. I said something, and she started. And I just turned and walked into Justin's room, and she followed me.
And this was the first time there'd been any physical confrontation after the January incident in 1989?
I believe so. Yes.
By this time, you had signed that document that says if you were to inflict injury on her physically, then she could tear up the prenup.
Exactly.
Is that one of the reasons you restrained yourself?
Well, I believe that was one of the reasons she was hitting me.
Oh, to bait you into hitting her?
Well,
Is
I
that-
don't know
is
what
that
she
what
was
you
doing.
think?
I don't know what she was doing,
Why
but
did-
she knew that I would not do anything, so
Why'd she know
did.
that?
Because I'd sent the letter, because I'd signed the letter.
And is that also the reason why you didn't hit her when she slammed the books down?
I wouldn't have hit her under any circumstances before this if she slammed the books down on me.
Is that why you restrained yourself from removing her from the room?
When she did it, she
Is
left
that
the room.
the only reason that you restrained yourself from taking her out of
No,
the room?
no.
The piece of paper that you signed?
Is it a reason?
No, that isn't what you asked him.
That's my next question.
Oh, okay.
Was it a reason?
Why?
Was it a reason?
As I told you before, I wouldn't have hit her before. I wouldn't have hit her before this.
What I'm trying to find out is whether after you signed this agreement with her, you were deterred by that agreement from hitting her.
I wouldn't have done it anyway.
Okay. Now, you said she verbally abused you.
Yeah.
How did she do that?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the thing. That's the reason I wrote them down, to remind me, and I don't recall right now.
Is that the only occasion on which she verbally abused you?
Well, I don't know. The verbal abuse had a totally different, I mean, I don't know what verbal abuse is at this point. It's a little different to me than it was back then.
It's a little different to you
Now
now?
than it was to me back then.
In what sense?
And I hear people talk to each other. Virtually every friend I know, I've heard them get in arguments and say things. I've heard Judy say things to Lou that today I would, from what I understand, it is now verbal abuse. But at the time, I didn't think it was at all. I thought it was just people talking.
Did you ever hit your first wife, Marguerite?
Never.
Did you consider yourself a batterer?
Don't answer that.
Did you consider Nicole a battered spouse?
Don't answer that.
What are the basis for
No
that?
sound bites is the basis.
This isn't about sound bites, Mr. Baker.
Yes,
It's
it is.
It's not fair.
I'm not going to let him answer it, so you can do anything you want.
What I'm
I'm not going to let him answer it.
Well,
You can
what
make
I'm
any
trying-
speeches or whatever you
not
want.
trying to make speeches. I'm trying to explain to you that his history of abuse, his relationship with Nicole is highly relevant to the issues in this case. And it's on that basis that I'm trying to explore. You wrote the word battered, or you said you were a battered spouse in the so-called suicide note, right?
I said sometimes I felt like a battered spouse,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, what did it feel like when you felt that way?
I felt that when you, for instance, when she was hitting me, I had nothing to do, and I didn't feel that in my conscience, that I could call the police. So I felt helpless
Why couldn't you call the police?
because I just wouldn't do that.
Just your choice, right?
It's my choice. I didn't think it was a police matter.
Okay. And do you believe that Nicole was a battered spouse?
From what I know of it, I would say in '89 that day, yes.
Is that the only day that you believe that she was a battered spouse in the course of your entire relationship with her?
In my understanding of it today, I would say we were both verbally at times abusive of one another. But if that's the case, in my opinion, most of the people I know are verbal abusers.
At the time, before your current understanding is gained as after her murder, is that right?
No.
Well, at the time that you were married to her before your divorce in 1992, did you think that she was a battered spouse in the
No.
course of her relationship?
No.
No. But you thought you were a battered spouse?
At that time, no.
I'm sorry, did she think that you thought you were a battered spouse?
We're talking before '89, right?
I thought you said that she
No.
thought.
The question was, at the time that you were married to her before your divorce in 1992, did you think she was a battered spouse?
I thought on New Year's that was I understood from what I read and saw about battery at the time that certainly was an abusive incident. Before then, I would have said no.
When you said you were a battered spouse, what incidents did you have in mind? The slapping and the hitting and the verbal abuse?
He's already answered that, number one, and he didn't say he was. He said he felt like it.
What's the difference?
The difference may be a legal conclusion that you're getting to that I'm not going to let him answer, and he's not going to answer that question either.
Have you ever
You've
been-
asked and answered that about 4 times now.
You ever been diagnosed by anyone as a batterer?
No.
Do you know whether Nicole was ever diagnosed as a battered spouse?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about in diagnosis.
You were never diagnosed as a battered spouse, right?
No.
Did Lenore Walker examine you?
Yes.
Did she conclude you were a battered spouse?
I don't know if that was her purpose. I don't know what her conclusions were, to be honest with you.
Did she ever tell you that?
What?
That you were a batterer?
I don't, I would have to really...
Excuse me, I misspoke. My question to you is, did Lenore Walker ever tell you that she was a batterer, that you were a batterer?
This is my doctor. Can I talk about this?
You don't have to. It's
Okay.
He was a designated expert at trial.
But she didn't testify, as I recall.
I don't think that makes a difference.
Well, then you're going to have to test it in the court, because I'm not going to let him answer it.
You know who Lenore Walker is?
Yes.
You ever meet with her?
Yes.
Was there anyone else present?
At times, yes.
Who?
This other doctor, I can't think of her name.
How many times did you meet with Lenore
I
Walker?
don't recall. I was in jail, so whenever she came.
More than twice?
Yes.
Are you aware that she has said on national television that you've admitted to conduct that is battery?
No.
You aware that she has called you a batterer?
Don't
No.
answer that.
You would disagree with that?
Don't answer that question.
What tests did she administer to you?
Don't answer that. Those are all
You're
protected.
not-
Those are protected by the physician-patient privilege.
Well, these were disclosed reports, too, including the MMPI. You want to take a little break here?
Sure, why not?
Okay, Mr. Leonard. Whispering in your ear.
He's my co-counsel for the 12th time.
That's why I got out of music, Mr. Baker.
Is it trumpet that I read? When you're
Trumpet and piano, and I tell you, I was the only one in there by the end of the night,
We are back on
except
the
my
record.
wife.
We are back
That's
on the record
loyalty.
now, and the time is approximately 3:06.
We were talking about Dr. Lenore Walker before the break.
Yes.
How many times did you meet with her?
I don't know.
A number of times, though?
Yes.
Now, did you tell Dr. Lenore Walker that you had beat your wife?
No, you don't have to answer that. I think that's protected by the physician-patient privilege.
Did you tell Dr. Lenore Walker about acts of spousal abuse?
Same objection, same instruction.
You're not going to let him answer any of the conversations with Dr. Walker
Correct.
on the ground of this privilege?
Yes.
What was your purpose in meeting with Dr. Walker?
If he had a purpose.
Yeah, if you had one.
I personally didn't have a purpose.
And more than a dozen meetings, would you say?
I don't know.
And was this other doctor present at all of them?
No.
Was there anyone else present besides either Dr. Walker and this other person?
No. No.
Was she also a doctor?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Because I believe when they introduced themselves, it was doctor and doctor.
What was the subject matter of your conversations with them?
You don't have to answer that either, because that's subject to the physician-patient privilege, and don't answer that.
Did you take an MMPI test?
I don't know what that is.
A test where a psychological test where you answered a lot of questions, multiple choice, 400 or 500.
I don't know if that's what it was, but I took a lot of tests.
Written tests?
I believe so.
Who were present when you took those tests?
They were either one or the other or both.
Were you told the results of those tests?
No.
Do you know why you were taking those tests?
It had something to do with the case. I knew that.
Do you know what it had to do with the case?
No,
No. Dr. Walker ever tell you that you were a batterer?
you don't have to answer that.
Well, I'm not going to ask any more questions about that, Mr. Baker, okay? We'll
argue about that at a
We'll resolve
subsequent
that
time.
at another time.
Fair enough.
While you were married to Nicole, you had a relationship with a woman named Tawny Catane.
Yes.
That was in the late 80s, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that relationship end before the New Year's Eve incident?
Years before, yes.
And did it ever resume again?
No.
Why did you call her from the airplane coming back from Chicago on June 13?
If I did, I was looking for Kathy.
And what does Kathy have to do with Tawny Catane?
They're best friends. They were at the time best friends.
Did they live near each other?
Kathy lived in the valley, and Tawny lived at the time on this side of the hill.
And was that the only reason you remember calling Tawny from the plane?
Yes.
Okay. You said that from what you know now, you would consider yourself to be a battered spouse, but what you knew at the time, you did not so regard yourself as a battered spouse. Is that right?
That isn't what he said.
Well, you wrote down as of June 17, 1994, that you were a battered spouse, correct?
He said he felt like he had.
Sometimes I felt.
Well, you said you felt like you were a battered spouse as of June 17th, right?
Sometimes I felt like a battered spouse.
When was the first time that you came to a realization that you felt like a battered spouse?
When Nicole was hitting me that time in the hall. I don't know if that's if that was the first incident in that group of incidences, but I felt helpless.
And when she threw the books on you, did you feel like a battered spouse then?
I felt helpless, yes.
Do you think Nicole felt helpless as a result of your incident with her?
Don't answer that.
Oh,
It
do
calls
you?
for pure speculation, and his state of mind relative to her state of mind is irrelevant, and I'm going to instruct him not to answer the question.
Did you, well, this is a discovery deposition, but anyway, I'll ask another question. Did you observe her being helpless
When?
when you were struggling with her, wrestling with her, as you put it, January 1, 1989?
Well, she was wrestling back, so she wasn't helpless.
She was not helpless in the sense
She
you
was
felt.
struggling back. In my cases, I wasn't struggling back. In her case, she was.
Has Nicole ever verbally abused you in public?
Yes. I mean, at the time, I didn't think it was abuse, but yes.
In your video, Mr. Simpson, in response to that searing examination by Ross Becker, you said,
At least he could complete his in a day.
90 minutes, Mr. Baker. You said in response to a question about whether you were a battered husband, that is a problem that when I am free to speak and I go and I plan to speak to women's groups, I think that is an issue. That is an issue that, battery is just not a one-way street. I think it is more an attitude than anything. Just because it doesn't hurt when someone hits you, someone slaps you, or someone in front of people is verbally abusive to you, to me, all that constitutes battery.
From what I understand it to be now, yes.
Now, did you have that understanding during your relationship with Nicole?
No.
All of this understanding was obtained after she died?
No, after 89. And a little after she died, a little in talking to Lenore.
Did you become aware of battery as a social problem after this incident in January of 1989?
I don't understand that question.
Well, did you become aware of it more than you had been in the past? Did you learn about it? Did you read about it? Did you go to sessions?
Yes.
Which one do you want him to answer?
All of those. Did you
Those
do all
two.
those things?
Don't answer the question. It's compound. We can break it
Did you
down.
read books on spousal abuse or battery after the 89 incident?
I believe so, yes.
And you attended therapy sessions?
Yes.
And you spoke to professionals about it?
Yes.
Okay. And from that point on, do you think you had a good understanding of what battery was?
To an extent, yes.
And from that point on, did you ever batter Nicole?
No.
Did Nicole ever slap you in front of people?
Yes.
When did she do that?
Once late 70s, early 80s, and then once in a club.
The first time, who was present?
Oh, I really didn't know the people. I was at a party.
She slapped you in front of strangers?
Yes. Basically, yes.
What did you do?
I left.
Left her there?
Yes.
Where was this place?
I don't know if it was called Bumbles or Pips at the time.
Pips?
Pips or Bumbles.
Was it a restaurant?
No, it was a restaurant club.
Can you name anybody who was present that witnessed the slapping?
At this point in time, no.
Any of your friends there?
They may have been, but I just don't recall.
Who might have been there?
This calls for
Jeez.
pure speculation.
I mean, it would. I really don't know who might have been there. Billy Keogh, Susie Keogh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else come to mind?
No.
And the second occasion when Nicole slapped you in public?
It's in Laguna.
And who was present?
At the incident, most of her sisters, for sure, and I don't know who else.
Was this in a restaurant?
No, it was. It may have been a restaurant. It may have been at a Mexican. I can't think of the name. Las Brisas or something.
Boss.
Sprices.
Any friends there?
You know, there were a lot of people, and I just can't recall. This was 12, 15 years ago.
Why'd she slap you?
I don't know.
Did you have a fight with her?
Maybe an argument.
Yeah.
Maybe some words.
And she slapped you earlier because you had in the club because of an argument also?
I don't know if it was an argument. I may have been flirting with somebody.
Okay. Did you hit her back on either of those occasions?
No, I left on both of those occasions.
Did you make up with her soon thereafter?
Yes.
Did you ever tell Nicole that she was a batterer?
No.
Do you know whether Nicole ever sought treatment as a batterer?
No.
Did you ever discuss that she should seek such treatment?
I don't think either one of us ever did.
Now, Nicole didn't press charges against you, right?
Correct.
At the 89 incident, right?
Correct.
And she didn't go to the press either, right?
Correct.
And she did that because of your desire that she not disclose this to the press, right?
I think part of it, yes.
And she let it die out, right?
Well, she called the police, so yeah, I guess we went on with our lives.
Did Michelle let you into her bedroom that night with a key?
No.
Did Michelle let Nicole into your room?
No.
Was Michelle involved at all?
Yes.
In what way?
She was there.
Did she see you two fighting?
She heard us arguing. She didn't see us fighting. No.
Did she come upstairs to see
No.
you at all?
No.
Okay. And Cowlings wasn't there during the fight either, was he?
No.
As of Nicole's death, did you have a contract with NBC as a sportscaster?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes.
Yes.
When was that due to expire?
I think I just had signed an extension for another 3 or 4 years.
Are you going to be asking about his financial
No.
affairs then?
Not right now. And were you under contract with anybody else as of June 12, 94?
Hurts for sure.
Was that a long-term contract?
I think it's maybe 2, 3 more years left on that.
Did you have any other employment at that time?
Other than my just normal stuff, you know, I'll do a movie here or there. I can't think of anything real specific, no.
So the only two contracts you had were NBC and Hertz?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
Were you under contract to act in any movies to be produced?
At the time of her death?
Yes.
No.
And were any deals in development or anything like that?
Well, I had done something that was up for consideration for a TV series called Frogman.
You had done the pilot for Frogman, right?
Yes.
And had no contract outside of the pilot?
Well, if they went to a series, I believe there was an arrangement in place.
Okay. And did you have any agreements with any other motion picture producers?
No.
Okay. Both NBC and Hertz contracts have been canceled.
Yes.
Now, were you under contract to NBC and Hertz as of in January of '89?
No.
Which one?
What do you mean?
Either of them,
I was on contract to Hertz,
but not NBC.
not NBC.
Were you with another broadcasting company?
No.
When did you begin working for NBC?
1989,
What year? I mean, what month in '89?
the fall.
Okay. And what was the last contract you had before that for a broadcasting company?
I believe I don't know what year, but sometime in the late 80s, I did something for, it could have been ESPN,
Were you ever employed by ABC?
yes,
When was that?
in the mid and early 80s.
And when did that
And then
end?
in the early 70s.
Okay. When did it end in the 80s?
I believe it was 86 maybe.
So between 1986 and the fall of '89, you didn't have a regular broadcasting job, is that right?
I did something with ESPN, I believe. I did one season, I believe, with ESPN, where I did 5 or 6 games.
College football?
No, pro games.
For one season, you said, right?
Yes.
So that was the only broadcasting work in between the ABC and NBC jobs?
Correct.
And your contract in the fall of 1989 with NBC, how long was that for?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Your contract with NBC that you entered into in the fall of '89, how long was that contract for?
Somewhere between 3 and 5 years, I believe.
Okay, was it renewed?
Yes.
How many times?
I believe in '94 it was being renewed for the 3rd time.
For the 3rd time?
I believe so.
Were there any morals clauses in the NBC contract?
I never read the contract.
Okay, or in the Hertz contract?
I never read the contract, but I believe there's something pretty standard in most of those contracts.
About their ability to terminate in the event of conduct that they find objectionable?
I believe so.
Were you endorsing any other products or services in January of 1989 besides Hertz?
I don't recall.
Okay. Let me go back to Exhibit 86 for a minute. Where's the original, David?
You guys taken it off the table now.
Yeah, here it is.
No wonder you couldn't find it.
I forgot to ask you about the first page, Mr. Simpson. Why don't you take a look at that? I want to ask you just to go over the first page with me.
Okay.
It is true, referring to the first entry there, that you had not called Nicole between Christmas and January 16, 1993. Is that right?
Say that again now.
Referring to the first entry at the top of page 86, is it true that between December 25, 1992 and January 16, 1993, you had not called Nicole?
If you have a recollection.
Well, call Nicole or call my kids?
Called Nicole.
No, I didn't call Nicole.
Did you tell Nicole that you were coming back to Los Angeles during the week of or following January 16, 1993?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you come back that week?
I don't know.
Now, on Monday, January 18, 1993, were you in Los Angeles?
I could have been.
Do you recall picking up Justin at Gretna Grain and Sydney from Rachel Berman's and taking them to breakfast?
I don't recall it. I don't recall it, no, but I could have.
Okay. Monday, February 1, 1993. Do you recall picking up Justin from Oliver's party?
I don't know where I picked them up from, but I do recall February 1st clearly, vividly, as a matter of fact.
Why is that?
Because it was the first time I had spoken or saw Nicole since Christmas.
Do you know, Dita is who, Judy?
Judy, yes.
Did Judy come to see you and the kids on that day?
When I drove up to get the kids' clothes, Dita was standing outside with Nicole of their house, and that's when I saw Nicole.
Okay. Did you pick up Sydney from school that day?
I believe so.
Did you take kids to karate?
Yes,
Okay. And did you watch karate?
I believe so. I don't know if I did or didn't. I'm not sure.
Did you go to Toscana's with Nicole, Judy, and the kids, or did you go home after karate?
I didn't do anything with Nicole. I saw Nicole for 3 or 4 minutes, and that was the only time I saw Nicole.
Then you went home?
Yes.
Did you have a confrontation with Nicole about the February 2, 1993 vacation plans?
Confrontation, I don't know if it's the right word, but
Argument?
I don't think that was the right word either. Nicole was mistaken on, Nicole hadn't paid any heed to a letter that she received
From whom?
from my office stating that I would not be in town the remainder of that week, so I wanted to spend time with my kids for the first, second, I believe the third, because I was leaving town on the 3rd.
And she didn't pay any attention to it, is that what you said?
She wanted me to keep the kids all week because I had been, this was the first time I was back in LA, and she made some comment about she was going to Europe that week.
Did you call to leave a message that you were going to stay in Florida?
No.
See, I'm referring to the last entry on here.
Where is this at?
It's right down here. It's a very poor on that copy.
OJ called once to leave a message. Something, stay in Florida. I can't read it.
That could
all.
be, because I was in Florida, I would say a lot during that time. I was
Okay.
looking to move to Florida.
During the week of February 13 and 19, did Nicole take the kids to Aspen to go skiing?
I'm sorry?
During the week, I'm referring now to the second page, Mr. Simpson, the only entry on there.
Yeah.
During the week of February 13 to 19, Nicole take the kids to Aspen to go skiing.
I believe so.
Okay, thank you. Let me show you you recall Nicole going with Sydney to see Disney on Ice in January of 1988?
No.
You recall you being invited and not wanting to go?
No.
Okay. Do you recall Nicole taking Sydney to go to Disney on Ice at some other occasion?
No.
Did you ever go to see Disney on Ice?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, let me show you this letter dated, it appears to be January 1988. Can't read the day. Mark this as next exhibit. Keep that original one there. This will be exhibit 87.
Have one more copy over here.
Okay.
What was 87?
This is 87.
You ever seen this document before?
I might have.
When did you first see it?
I believe when I was in jail. I'm sorry. Has this been changed, this date?
I can't read the date.
Do you recall an incident when you came back from going out with A.C. Cowlings and you were drunk in or around January of 1988 and had a confrontation with Nicole?
No.
Do you recall calling her a fat pig?
No.
Do you recall whether Nicole was 2 months pregnant in 1988?
She probably would have been.
She was 2 months pregnant with Justin, who was born in August of
Yeah,
1988,
she probably
correct?
would have been, yes.
Okay. It's down here in the middle, it says, he never let up, you're a fat pig, you're disgusting. You're a slob, I want you out of my fucking house. Did you say those things to Nicole?
Never.
And then I took Sidney to bed, tried to anyway, and he proceeded to cut me down with AC in the entry downstairs. Do you recall that?
No.
I tried to tape the conversation, but the recorder didn't work. He was saying all those things again so that I could hear every word as he was telling AC, my wife's a fat ass, a liar. I stopped fucking other girls and now I jack off the fat ass. Did you say those things?
Never.
You recall locking her out of her room?
No.
You lived in Rockingham then, right?
In 88,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you tell her to get out of your fucking house?
No.
You see all these things written down here?
You want me to read it all?
Well, look
Next
at the
page.
look at the second page, Mr. Simpson. I'm at the
Yeah.
first complete paragraph. It says that you said you want her to have an abortion with the baby. Did you say that?
I would have never said that ever.
She says she packed a few things together. Do you remember her doing that?
No.
Did you tell her that, let me tell you how serious I am. I have a gun in my hand right now. Get the fuck out of here.
No.
Did you have cats at that time as pets?
We used to have cats. I don't know if we still had them at this time.
Okay. Nicole writes, I got real scared and grabbed Sydney and the cats and a bag for her and a bottle and a pair of sweats from the laundry room for me and got the heck out of the house. Do you see that?
Well,
No.
see, it says it.
I see it.
It's
I see
not
what
your
it says.
foundation, it's
Well, let-
Nicole's writing.
You recognize his handwriting as Nicole's?
I can't tell with this, but it could be Nicole's, yes.
Do you know why Nicole would write such things if they were not true?
Maybe she was feeling that way.
That she would just invent
If you
this
don't know, just
whole
tell them you
thing?
don't know.
I don't know.
Well, was there some incident that you believe she might have been referring to here?
No.
Does this resemble anything that happened that you can recall?
Nothing that I ever recall, no.
Is it possible that it happened but you don't recall?
Don't
never
don't
happened.
answer that.
It never happened.
Never happened.
You're 100% sure.
I never said these things to Nicole ever.
Does it, when you saw this for the time, were you shocked that such things were written down by Nicole?
Well, don't answer that. It's irrelevant whether he was shocked or not shocked. His
Were
state
you?
of mind. Don't answer it. I told you.
Did you do anything about it
Do anything
to
about
investigate why she did this?
what, when he was in jail?
Yeah.
Don't
He had,
answer that either.
He
Is
had a
that-
lot of lawyers, Mr. Baker,
Thank you very much for your gratuitous remark.
and a lot of investigators.
You don't have to answer that.
Did you ever find out the circumstances behind Nicole's writing of this letter?
Don't answer that.
Well, he can tell me if he knows.
He could tell you a lot of things if he knows. If I
That's
didn't
not,
allow
that's
it.
not privileged.
It's not privileged.
No.
It's not attorney work product, and it's not
Might have
protected
learned
by
it
the
from Al Cowlings. Putting your lawyers aside, do you have any information about the circumstances of Exhibit 87?
No.
Now, you don't believe Exhibit 87 was made up by Nicole in connection with getting out of the prenup, do you?
Personally?
Yes.
Yes.
And what makes you say that?
I don't know. When she talked to me about some of the things that they had her doing, one of the things that she had to write letters, and this looks like a letter with some of the other stuff I saw didn't look like letters.